Hi, Captain Mike here with you again on a real quick video on fun with your microwave kiln. It's a rainy day in Georgia. Kind of sounds like the title to a song, don't it? But it is a rainy, cold day here in Georgia, so I'm stuck inside the shop. And I've done most of the things I had to do. So I got to thinking, what can we do in the microwave kiln, or what should we not do in the microwave kiln? Now, I'm not going to do anything dangerous, so you guys don't worry, or don't get your hopes up that I'm going to blow something up. What we're going to use today is this old kiln that I featured in one of my earlier videos on how to repair microwave kiln. I just sanded it down flat, put this piece of fiber paper, 1/4-inch fiber paper on top of it, and it works fine. So if anything messes up today, it just messes up this old kiln right here. Not a big deal. In an earlier video, I showed you how you could take and do a greenware cup, put it in a microwave kiln, turn it into a bisque cup, and from the bisque cup, how you could do a simple glaze job. And then I went from there to you could do raku. I've already put a candle in this little raku cup, but it's did an excellent job in the raku using raku technique. So those are already done. If you want to see how to do that, go look at one of my earlier videos. They're all there. Today we're going to play with glass, and mostly glass. We all know how regular 9096 does in a microwave kiln. If you don't get too big with it, it works great. You can melt it down into, these are just little slabs I made to make arrow points out of, nap arrow points out of, and of course it makes really great little pendants, and that's fine. That's basically what the microwave was designed for. But we're going to start off today by using a piece of just plain plate glass. This is 1/4-inch plate glass. I know it's going to work. We're just going to see what it's going to do. 1/4-inch plate glass, commonly known as float glass. There's a piece of bronze. We're going to see if the color makes any difference. I know already that it doesn't, but we're going to do it. This is for comparison. Then we're going to cook a piece of Carrara glass, and this is the glass that goes on storefronts. You've seen it. It was kind of art decor back in the 50s, 40s, and 50s, and up into the 60s. Most of it's gone now, unfortunately. Then we're going to get into the experimental glass that I don't have an idea what it'll do. This is a piece of cherry glass from China. It's basically designed for jewelry trade. I make arrowheads out of it and knife blades. I'm pretty sure it's going to do okay. This one, maybe, maybe not. This is some Fenton glass. Fenton's no longer in business. I wish they were. But when you can get a chunk of this Fenton glass, it's some great stuff to make points out of. It fluoresces under black light. It's got some uranium in it. And we're going to see how that melts down. This one, it's going to be interesting too. This is a piece of fiber optic glass. And it's jewelry, come out of the jewelry trade. This is red, white, and blue, and I make knife blades out of it, arrowheads. But we're going to cook it and see what happens to it. Now, we're going to do this little bottle thing just for grins and giggles. This is the top off of a bottle, and I'll show you what it makes a nice little ring pendant, and we'll do that if we have time, okay? Now, here's where I know it's not going to work, but you know how the old Dirty Harry movie went? When the guy was laying on the ground and Dirty Harry was standing over him with the big old 44 Magnum, and the guy said, gee, I just got to know, referring to how many bullets was left in the revolver. So for those of you that just got to know, this is a piece of obsidian. It's rainbow obsidian from Davis Creek, California. I collected it when I was out there a couple of years ago. We're going to cook it. It's got a lot of oxygen in it. I know what it's going to do. It's going to bubble up and look like junk, but we're going to see. And then on the very far end of the scale is a piece of stone. It's going to blow up. But this is a piece of Rio Grande agate, and it makes a nice little arrowhead point. And all of my experience with putting it in a regular kiln was it just busted up. Probably what it's going to do in the microwave kiln. So with that said, I'm going to prep it, and I'm going to start with a clear piece first. We're going to stick it in there. I'm going to zap it, and I'm going to come back and show you what the results are, because it's about 15 minutes per piece, and you don't want to be bored with that. So y'all better stay with me. I'm going to zap that first piece, and we're going to look at it. I thought I'd show you guys how hot this microwave kiln gets. Now it's beginning to cool off just a tad now, but it went to about 1410 before I got the camera set on, and then it started backing down. Now this is in a small microwave. I think this is about a 800 or 900 watt microwave. It's set on high, and I zapped what's inside that kiln for about 15 minutes, maybe a few minutes more, in 3-minute increments, and it got up to over 1400 degrees, which is plenty hot to melt glass. So I want to show you this because it's going to go along with some of the results of this experiment, and just kind of wanted you to see. While digging around, I found a couple of other pieces of material that we'll try our best to melt. This is a piece of some kind of industrial glass. We affectionately call it Turtle Creek quartz because it was found in a Turtle Creek somewhere in Georgia. But it's not a natural glass. It's the rumor is it has something to do with the NASA project and the space shuttle and some glass forming. But anyway, I've got a piece of that. We're going to fire it. And we're going to fire this milliflora. I found a piece of it, and I said, well, gee, while we're doing this little project, we'll do that. And last but not least is I have this swell little glass egg. Now this is going to be interesting. The mass on this tells me if I heat it up too fast in this microwave kiln, it's going to explode. But we'll see. We'll just give it a shot and see what happens with it. And that's all the stuff that we're going to do in this test. And just as soon as it's all melted, or the attempt has been made to melt it, we'll be back with you, show you what the results are. Okay, this has really been interesting. All the results are in, and so we're going to do a quick review and see how these different kinds of glasses do. We're going to start off with the easiest one here. This one right here. Well, started life as a piece of just float glass, 1/4 inch store glass, okay? And that's what we ended up with right there. And that's not too terrible bad. Actually, it has a lot of uses. It made a nice looking little pendant. Float glass, you never know what the COE is, so it's hard to combine any colors. But I have found that you can use ceramic paints on this. There's decals. There's micas, all that would work. So you see, if you get your hands on some of this glass, that would work fine. The next we have is the bronze that we melted, and it did pretty good too. Now, it evidently has a little bit higher melting point than the clear. It's not as roundish, but it did round off and smooth off the edges. There's some devitrification on this, but then I didn't spray any overglaze on it. But it's the same thing. It works really good. I have some ideas that I'm going to do with scrap glass. We'll get around to that next video maybe. The Carrara glass, as I explained before, is glass that it was used, all different colors of this stuff, but it was used on storefronts and to veneer inside, kind of Art Deco stuff. It has the little grooves on the back, which are no concern to glass fusers, but glass nappers need to know which direction the little grooves run in. But as you can see, it did a super job. It made a nice little rounded off piece of glass. So it worked great. About the same firing temperature as the float glass. And the next one that I did was this piece of milliflora, and it was just something that I bought at a show that I did in below Tallahassee a couple of weeks ago, Locklockney State Park, and I bought this from one of the vendors. I thought it was neat, and it worked out pretty good too. It's right nice looking. The little florets or floral design, whatever, they moved around a little bit, but you'd be expected when the curvature starts to move. That melted about the same as all the other glass so far. Now, this one was interesting. This was the piece of Fenton glass that I told you about. Its interesting characteristic is that it will fluoresce under black light. So, you know, I make a pendant or an arrowhead out of it, and you know, when you go into some place that has black lights, when you walk in, it glows. It's really neat. So I fired a piece of it, and it changed from being almost transparent to an opaque light yellow. However, it does still fluoresce under black light. So that's pretty neat. Again, the temperature was about the same. Now, this is where it starts to get kind of funny. This is a piece of a fiber optic glass that I buy every year at some of these paleo art shows when the vendors have it. I make knife blades out of it, and it's really makes a pretty knife blade. Comes in solid colors, and then of course this tricolor. So I didn't know what it would do it'll actually transmit light. It has what looks like fibers running in this direction right here. But I took and fired this stuff. The fibers more or less went away. You see, it just kind of, the red turned black or gray, charcoal gray. The white's still white and the blue's still blue. It melted about the same, but isn't that interesting? That's what it did. That's fiber optic. And this is where things really start getting interesting. Now, I'll show you this one right now because it's the last piece of glass, true glass. And this was that glass egg that I had, that I put in the microwave. I was worried that because of its round mass that it would bust, but it didn't. It went ahead and it melted completely down flat. And as is with a lot of this glass art glass, it's prettier on the back than it is on the front. But I'll probably make an arrowhead out of it, so I'm not really worried about it. The back will be just as good as the front. Now that's the last of the glass. Here's where we start running into some trouble. Well, really not trouble. This was the cherry glass that I told you about. I got this particular piece from a friend who was a geologist. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but we used to trade out a lot of different stuff. And this says cherry quartz with glass in parentheses, and it's from China. I always assumed it was just straight glass. I put this piece right here in the microwave, and I run it up to a temperature of a little over 1400 degrees. And I know that because I measured it with a digital probe thermometer, and it's accurate. Listen, it didn't even change one characteristic. It looks just like I took it off the saw. So I said, well, maybe it's quartz. Maybe it's not man-made. Maybe it's something, I don't know. Nature does a lot of things that you can't explain. I had another piece of cherry glass that I had bought elsewhere, and I knew it was glass. Same thing. It just absolutely would not melt at 1400 degrees. I mean, it didn't even start to melt. So, don't know what the melting temperature is on those two. We will find out. And the last piece of glass was this Turtle Creek stuff. And I know it's a man-made glass. But I put it in the kiln, same story. You can't tell it was ever in the kiln. Even these little tiny sharp places like this. They never even started a round over. Mystery. Do not know what the melting point of this material is yet. And last, well, not last, but pretty close to last, was my Obsidian. And you can't see it on this, it's dull, and I cut the angle wrong, but this is a piece of rainbow obsidian from Davis Creek, California. I collected all this on my last trip out there. Beautiful place. You can see Mount Shasta from where I was on a nice day. Beautiful. I mean, everybody needs to go. But I took a sample of that, and obsidian, full of air, they say, and it froths all up on you. But it don't froth up at 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. Now it will melt. Online they say it will melt, and I will melt it. But for the sake of this video it's not going to melt. So that's interesting. It did not melt. And of course, the last little thing here is the top off of that bottle that I told you I cut. I just wanted to show you what you can do with these little projects. This one melted beautifully. In fact, it melted and closed completely in. They don't always do that. Here's some earlier ones that I done. And as you can see, it makes a nice little donut. There's all kinds of things. This one's got a little divot on it. It probably didn't clean the bottle really good, but it made a nice little round thing. And you can experiment with them, clean them good, spray overglaze on them, and you know, they make whatever you want to do with them. It's just something nice. And that's the last of the glass. And I know you're asking yourself, well, you're forgetting something. What happened to that piece of rock that you said you were going to do, that piece of Rio Grande agate? Well, folks, just like I told you it would, there is your Rio Grande agate. It bloated all to pieces, and I'm talking it bloated all to pieces within 10 minutes. I do not know why it blows up like that, but it could be trapped water, it could be anything. But that is the Rio Grande agate. That's about it for this video. This is just, you know, my video about fun with your microwave kiln. There's just so many things that you can do. You're obviously not going to hurt it. Be careful. And I will try to come up with some more fun things you can do with your microwave kiln. I've got one in the plans. I'll tell y'all what that's going to be when it gets here. And until then, y'all watch the rest of my videos, and if you like them, hit like and subscribe to my channel. Don't get anything for y'all doing that, but it makes you feel good to know that people are watching and that people like what you do. Comments are always appreciated. Be polite, and I will be polite back, and we'll exchange ideas. And that's it. I'm Captain Mike, and appreciate y'all watching this video.